That won't change anything. Not whilst I'm here. Just a small measure I'm using for now, in the interest of secrecy. Useful when you want to speak privately. They're still producing light. I'm just sending it elsewhere. Come, you may want to sit down. We have much to discuss. Apologies if I startled you. As you can imagine, I cannot come by way of public path, so I am forced into using shadowy byways. Effective, but the method does not lend itself well to casual introductions. Reginald here is more than just a precocious raven. He has been keeping an eye on you. He would also like to thank you for the occasional snack given. He's a good friend, one of my more reliable observers. Surprised to see me out of my forest hovel, or even at all? I suppose I've never given the impression that I venture beyond the boundaries of my wood, but I find myself in the unenviable position of having cause to act, which is why I am here now to darken your door. So, how have you been? And your head, has it given you much issue? I see. The headaches are regrettably expected. They can last long after the first injury. If you would like, I could provide a tincture to aid you. Your modern medicine is effective, but almost clinical to a fault. It is rigid in its exactitude. Make no mistake, this is not a critique, but sometimes an artful flourish can be the key that a locksmith can only imitate. Be that as it may, consider it a standing offer. So, this is your home, is it? I was familiar with the concept of a tenement block, but being in one is an entirely different experience. It is like a commune without the community. So many of you packed together, leading such isolated lives. A paradox of modernity, surrounded by people and without the energy of time to know them. Tell me, and I appreciate this is an odd question, but humor an old bird if you will. I'd like to know if you've received strange looks from anyone, not just recently, but since we first met. Have you caught anyone staring at you, or anyone frowning at you? Have you entered into conversation and slowly people simply drift away? Like a topic ends and nobody has the interest to continue it. I see. I think that just about confirms it for me. I know, Reginald. Reginald reported much the same, but he can only watch you some of the time without arousing suspicion. I wanted to confirm it for myself. What I have to say will bring you anxiety, but I suppose, like anything else, it is better to rip the plaster off quickly, tempting as it might be to avoid the issue. Matters of my historic doing will not meander as I am. I have come with a warning and a choice. I am sorry, but it would be wrong of me to leave you in the dark about what I've done to you, even if you'll excuse the pun. No need for alarm. It is the condensate of your light fixtures. It will provide ambient warmth as I explain myself. You could put your hand through it if you wanted and come out unscathed. In time, you may become more acquainted with it, but I digress. To provide context to my concern, I must first explain several high-level concepts of the art to you. I do not expect you to remember them all or even understand, but be aware that they are of critical importance to you and your continued well-being. When we first met, you were fleeing from the whispering trees that I had created. These trees are not natural manifestation, but rather exist because of my artful manipulation of what to you would be called a soul, but to me, it would be called aether. A soul, as your kind largely understands it, is a single, cohesive, immortal entity that represents yourself, your identity, and your memories. And for the most part, that is correct, but it sidesteps critical nuances and overlays preconceptions that can sometimes lead to dangerous uses of the art. I have experienced firsthand the direct results of this, and it is never pretty. Aether is a more appropriate term, as it separates itself from your historic terminology and encapsulates the plastic nature of this matter. Aether is comprised of multiple constituent aspects that are uniquely blended to an individual to produce what you'd call an identity. It is malleable. One can carve it apart as desired, as a butcher would with a carcass. So, in the instance of the whispering trees, I have stripped away cognizance, emotion, even selfhood, and supplanted their agency with a driving force of my own design. That is, one that keeps people away from my home. However, identity is what concerns me today, for you see, I have put upon you a great responsibility, and upon myself a duty of care. For the most part, an entity's aether is reflective of their environment. About 99% of your kind is largely unremarkable in this aspect. Granted, different societies maintain different aether commonalities, and personal rituals like prayer, habits, and hobbies will cause it to shift. But by and large, to find one of you would be like seeking out mist in fog. However, there are 3 conditions under which your aether identity will drastically change. Through intense exposure to the art, through long-term practice of the art, or by pure blind chance when you're born. In your instance, it is a combination of the first and the second that concerns us. By my action, your aether has been irrevocably changed. How people perceive you has tilted, and your aether has adopted a similar tint towards my own. When I set about the task of applying my fleshcraft to your injury over a year ago, I unintentionally did more than knit blood, brain matter, and bone together, but rather I exposed you to such a degree that your aether is now forever colored by my actions. I'm sure in our time apart, others around you have been more than awkward. Uncomfortable looks, glances, frowns, that sort of thing. That, I'm sorry to say, is a result of your aether identity shift. Humans have developed a subconscious instinct in that anything that closely resembles a human elicits an eerie discomfort in them. It is commonly known as the uncanny valley. This is not to say that you are no longer human, but your aether is no longer like that of your compatriots or environment, not even like your own kinds. It's like your aether is attempting to masquerade in the body of a human, and people have noticed. What this means is that you have, for a while now, been different. Different in a way that cannot necessarily be undone easily. In our year apart, my influence upon you has diffused throughout your being, and it is now as much a part of you as your limbs. For better and likely worse, you now associate with me. I have enemies and allies alike that would be keenly interested in you, and if you have not been noticed yet by either of the sort, you will be. I would like to apologize for what I've put upon you. I will not ask for your forgiveness, as I have not come to expect such a thing, but I will respect your next decision, whatever it might be. There are several choices that I can offer. The first is that I simply leave, never return, and you are largely left to fend for yourself. This would leave you exposed to any and all who demonstrate interest in you, and I have no reason to believe that you wouldn't be taken away at some point by someone or something that does not have your best interests at heart. Yes, I thought that the least likely option too. The second is that I maintain a distant watch over you. Reginald or another raven will become your familiar, and I would give you a talisman that would render you largely invisible to others of my ilk. If any were to move upon you, then the talisman should be enough to ward them away. By itself, it should be a formal mark of protection. There are some, however, who would ignore that formality, and I would not always be close by. Not my preferred choice either. The third is that I take you beneath my wing, as both a student and also a member of my household. It's a small one, and my flock and I have never maintained a relationship with a human before, but I would like to believe that it could be mutually beneficial. You would be as much a student of the arts as you would be my ward, and even in some cases my representative if you were to come across other artists in my absence. Unlike the other choices, however, this is likely the most dangerous and yet also the safest decision. I appreciate that this is a significant decision. You're quick to agree. Are you so sure? I would not have you regret. I see. This is a significant change to your lifestyle, you understand. So be it. In which case we shall begin your education this upcoming weekend. I will make arrangements for your quarters. I will need to construct a new wing in my home, but that is no real task for me. Will you require assistance moving your belongings? Yes, that's quite correct. How else am I to manage your education and safety? I am talented in much of the art, but despite my best efforts, I cannot be in two places at once. No, you will need to stay under my roof. What? Of course you will still be able to visit your family and friends, but for their safety and your own, I must swear you to absolute secrecy. Is that understood? I don't think I need to elaborate on why claiming you know a large magic warlock of the woods who adopts the form of a raven would be a bad idea. At best, you'd be put in a padded cell, which I should add makes for a very difficult teaching environment. At worst, something else will get to them, to get to you, to get to me. If that is all, then I will meet you at the forest's edge this Saturday. Our first lesson will be moving some of your belongings. Best to bring your most fragile things with you, however. It is always a bumpy process. In which case, I believe we are finished. I am glad that we came to an agreement, and I will see you soon. Oh, and one last thing. As much as Reginald might not like me saying this, maybe give him some more fruit for the time being. He's becoming a little ungainly in his flight. Reginald, you've got about as much self-control as the hungry caterpillar. Do not lie to me. On a personal note, thank you. This conversation has set my heart to rest. I will leave Reginald in your capable care for the time being. He will become a much more active participant in your life, along with the rest of my flock. They are wise in their own way, especially when it comes to treats. Now, I really must be going. I've a wing to build. I will see you soon. Farewell, friend.